afternoon and welcome to another edition of Northport View from here. My name is Gene Matthews and I'll be your host today. We have visiting with us today members of Manatee Community College. We have Dr. Sarah Pappas, who is the president, Dr. Jim Woods, who is the provost of the MCC campus up there in Venice, and we also, on a later segment, will have Peg Lowery, who is CEO of our foundation. We're going to start off with Dr. Pappas and Dr. Woods, and I want to welcome you both here today to our program.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gene.
I think most people understand the traditional, you go to elementary school, to middle school, to high school, and then they jump to four-year college. But, you're a two-year college, and explain what the mission of a community college is, or a two-year college.
Sure, I'd be glad to. Because we're a public community college, part of our state system, our mission is set by statute, and we have a three-part mission. The first is the one you're most familiar with, and most people are, is to present a university parallel curriculum, the first 2 years of college that can transfer then to one of Florida state universities to receive a bachelor's degree. So that's called our university parallel curriculum. And the vast majority of our students, Gene, are taking those kind of degrees. But then we have two-year degree programs, Associate of Science degrees, to prepare students for immediate entry into the job market after 2 years. And these are very well-paying, high-skilled jobs needed by our economy. For instance, the RN degree, our paralegals, criminal justice, and all our information technology degrees are two-year degrees. And then the third part of our mission is now called the Center for Professional and Community Development, where we offer short-term customized courses for business and industry, as well as personal growth classes for the citizens of Northport, which would be everything from French cooking to speaking Italian, computer for dummies. I understand you took one.
Yes, I took two of them.
Good.
The same one.
So that's our three-part mission, and we have about 14,000 students taking the non-credit short-term, and about 8,310 taking credit courses leading to a degree.
And that's quite a bit more than over the past years, isn't it?
Yes, our enrollment has just grown tremendously. For 13 consecutive semesters, we've grown faster than most other community colleges in the state. And Jim, what's your campus been like the last few years?
Our last campus, when it came in the fall of 1999, we had 1,263 students. We now have.
Could you be more exact?
We now have 1,736 students.
Well, that's great. That's a great,
been a tremendous growth.
The community college also seems to have a side benefit, if you will, to families that I believe the tuition's a lot lower. Plus, they can live at home.
Right. We do not have dorms. Again, that's not our mission, because we serve local students who either are on their own in apartments or living at home, or they have their own families, because the average age of our student is 29 now, so many of them are married with children and work part-time or full-time and are going to school part-time with us, so they already have their homes. But our tuition is about $55 a credit hour, but it's probably about 20% less than a university tuition at this time.
So what you're saying, by age 29, with an average age of 29, then a lot of people are trying to pull themselves up from the bootstraps.
Yes.
I imagine there's a lot of single parents coming back into the education for additional...
Exactly. You're so well informed. You know our students. But we do have a majority of women, 65% women, and these are women who are divorced or single at this time, and many of them have children, and they're stuck in dead-end jobs, and they realize if they don't get back to school and get a high-skill, high-wage kind of job, that they won't be able to provide for their families. But some of the men come back for that same reason, mature men.
How do you overcome the distance of Venice campus to the Bradenton campus with courses that, there may not be enough people, how do you overcome that, Jim? How do you offer subjects to your students?
Yeah, that was one of the problems early on, is that we'd have classes with 4 or 5 students that we just couldn't make financially. So by connecting those with the Bradenton campus, where they may have 15 students while we had 5, taught at the same time, we connect them through what we call VTEL, which is video telegraphy. It's interactive, totally interactive, so the faculty member, whether they're in Bradenton or Venice, has total interactive capabilities with both classes at the same time. And it's been a real lifesaver for the growth pattern of the Venice campus.
If I was in one of those classes and I raised my hand in Venice, they'd be able to see me in
Yes,
Bradenton.
they would see
Press
you
a
and-
button and can talk to you.
And away I go.
And say,
That's
Gene,
great.
that's enough, please.
And Gene, we also offer courses, of course, at both campuses on the web, where you can be anywhere and take in the two-county area and take a class. And over 2,000 students are taking one or more classes on the web, doing their homework or chatting with the teacher at 3 in the morning. It's just amazing. This is the new wave of education.
It truly is amazing. 100 years from now, you won't have a school building anymore.
Well, the interesting thing about that is that that takes a lot of discipline to be successful, taking a class on the web.
I agree.
And most people still want face time with the instructor.
I think it worked, personally, for me, I'd be too distracted. Any little noise or anything, and I'd be off to see what that is rather than doing my classwork. So for some, it would be good.
But it's
for
nice
others.
to have it for an option.
Absolutely.
That's the way we see it.
And traveling from here to there is a long distance, and this meets a need. A few weeks ago, I was at a opening up at Lakewood Ranch, and of a fantastic center, and you put on some fantastic displays over there. Tell everyone what that is, and who's it for, and what they can do there.
Well, thank you. And we officially call it the Center for Innovation and Technology at Lakewood Ranch. And it was never designed to be a full-service campus the way our Venice and Bradenton campuses are. It's supposed to focus on information technology training that's why it's in the middle of Lakewood Ranch's corporate park, for business and industry, but also for the citizens of Lakewood Ranch to send their children to computer or cyber camps in the summer where they learn those skills, plus have some fun too. We will also do training of public school teachers and our own faculty to get them to be more comfortable using technology to be more effective teachers in the classroom. That will be done out of the center. Now, having said that, just to get the building started, until we're doing 100% of those things, we are having some general education classes for people in East County to start taking their English, math, and general ed requirements, but they will then have to complete their degrees at either Venice or Bradenton.
And this is only a 35, 40-minute ride from Northport.
I hear you've been there yourself.
I've been there, done that. We'll be back in a moment.
Have you seen Northport lately? Take a minute and take a look.
We really do enjoy nature, and we found it all here, right in our own backyard. Love fishing and boating on the Mayaca. You never know what you might see out there. We toured the whole state of Florida and found that Northport had everything that we wanted.
There's a lot of natural beauty, and there's a lot of wildlife here. I love the open spaces, and I love the quiet.
If you're intrigued by what you just saw, pay us a visit, and you'll see a lot more.
Welcome back to Northport, a view from here. Dr. Woods, what is your association with Northport High School, and how do you prepare our students, if you do, to come into Manatee Community College?
Northport High School, George Kenny is a good friend of mine. In fact, his first week on the job, he called me and said, we need to get together. And we've worked since that day in growing partnerships. As they become juniors, they become eligible for dual enrollment classes. Once they reach a certain grade point average and 3.5 grade point average and pass our CPT test, our college placement test, they can take classes from the college while they're still enrolled in high school.
Dual enrollment.
Right.
Okay.
So it prepares them to get a head start on college. And we started that this year with Northport High School, and we've expanded it this year into our education offerings, and we'll do more of that next year. And we're starting an education club that will include the Northport High School students, those future teachers. And that's a very important program that we now have, and that leads into a parent-to-teacher program that we have that the Venice Foundation has helped fund to prepare those people that are now paraprofessionals or teaching in the classroom but not qualified to teach as full-time teachers but wish to prepare themselves. We've got a partnership with the Venice Foundation, soon to be the Community
Gulf Coast
Community Foundation, USF, and ourselves to prepare those students to become eligible to become full-time teachers and provide grants for their expenses.
And do you do anything to prepare, other than the dual enrollment, to prepare the student to come into MCC on a full-time basis once they graduate?
We have advisors that meet at least every 2 weeks with each high school in our service area. Yeah, and take the financial aid advice to them and always provide them one-on-one counseling if they need to, and it's a very good connection with all the schools in the area.
One of the more recent programs, and we've touched on it before in the college, is the nursing program. And I know that nurses are scarce, especially in the winter season down here, and we've even imported them from Europe during the busy signals and busy
season.
It takes an educator to know what I'm trying to think.
When the snowbirds are here.
When the snowbirds are here, there you go. And as that, it prompted the addition of. So give us the genesis of that, if you will.
Well, the community, of course, was the genesis, but that was near. It's clear that there was a shortage of nurses in our area, and we had a program at the Bradenton campus. And in order to expand that, the portion that slowed it down a bit is the lack of qualified nursing instructors. So once we got those in place, we were able to expand the program. So a year ago, January, we started our first class of 30 students on the Venice campus, and every student that applies to the nursing program in January will start on Venice, and in August will start in Bradenton. So they have the option of where they want to get their RN degree. This January, we expanded the program to include an additional 40 students. So there's 70 students now on the Venice campus seeking their registered nursing degree that will live and work in the community when they complete it. So we're very pleased with that.
Well, I think that's a wonderful opportunity for that, not only the hospitals and the general population, but for the people that are going for that degree, because it certainly is a above average pay scale in this area.
And if I could add a thanks again to the Venice Foundation.
Absolutely.
Because part of the expense was not only hiring a faculty, but duplicating the equipment that was at the Bradenton campus. So they helped us with that tremendously, and that made us able to bring the program to South County.
Yeah, well, they've done a great job for us all, and so have you guys. We thank you. Jim, I'm not ignoring you.
That's all right. I'm fine here.
What are your plans, facility plans on your campus?
Well, as you know, we're getting short on classrooms. I don't use the word short. Brief? No, we're just we're filling up our classrooms, so we have to find an alternative to get more classrooms.
That's a good problem.
Yeah, the state funds new construction and remodeling through PICO, Public Educational Capital Outlay Funds, but the funds available for remodeling are much more plentiful and readily available than the funds for new construction. And we have a Life Fitness Center on campus, the gymnasium, that since the state did away with the requirement for physical education has become very slightly used. So we've been trying to find out ways to get more activity in that area. And it looks like that's the best thing to do, is to consider remodeling that to generate classroom space for this enrollment growth that we're experiencing. And that would generate up to 18 classrooms, and we could easily use those and be very responsive to the community. And,
okay. Now we're going to go to Dr. Pappas. A real quick one, the 2+2 partnership you have with the University of South Florida. If you give me a brief explanation about that, because then we're going to go into the budget.
Okay.
We're going to talk about money.
It's simple. It means the first 2 years, freshman, sophomore year, are taken at MCC to receive that AA degree that guarantees them admission as a junior to USF that does the last 2 years, so they end up with a bachelor degree. And that's the model for Florida, is to have most students start at a community college and finish with a university. And our partner, of course, as you said, It's University of South Florida, and we are wonderful partners with them. We give them advising space so they can come early to advise our students when they're freshmen, sophomores as to what it's like when they're juniors. We did this parent-teacher project with them and the 2 county school systems, by the way. They meet every 2 months. 2 county school system academic people, MCC and USF, meet in the same room to discuss problems, concerns, joys, and other things. But that's very unique. Other counties, there's more unhealthy competition between those, so you can be very proud in Sarasota County and your Northport area that a lot of cooperation between the superintendent.
And cooperation is really the key. You only get one opportunity with a child to help them through their educational life, and if we can all cooperate together, these kids will be guaranteed of a good education. Now we get on to your favorite subject. If you're like any other educator, it's your absolute
favorite.
favorite.
This time of year.
We've had some class size reduction costs being put into the budget this year, and other things. The federal government isn't giving as much money, so on and so forth. How does our budget look?
Well, the only the only budget that's out in print, Gene, is the governor's budget, because the legislature, House and Senate, haven't published theirs yet, so I can only react to the governor's. But while it does give MCC a little more money, compared to the growth that we've had, which we have grown 28% in 3 years, money from the state during that same period has declined 15%. So we've been growing, but getting less money per student. The only way there's an increase in the budget is because they're allowing us to raise tuition. So any increase in my next year's budget would come completely from students and their parents, not from the state. And that money from tuition only covers 1/3 of the actual cost of instruction. So we are about $6 million short compared to the way we were able to be funded 3 years ago. So it's a real crisis that we hope the legislature will solve before they adjourn in May.
Yeah, that is critical, and you're not under that reduced class size.
No. That's what
passed.
Community colleges pride themselves on, having a smaller class size than many of the universities that pack them in their freshman and sophomore years. But that's what would happen. We'd have to deal with this. We'd have to have larger classes, but the real cost is hiring faculty. And at a certain point, we would just have to say, we can't offer any more classes because we can't afford to hire the faculty.
So the only way you can really cope with it is by offering less.
Right. And you know how important those class sections are to the Northport people.
Absolutely. Does I know in the K-12 system, around March, the state would come to them and say, well, you need to give $6 million back. Well,
you get that I wish we had that problem, because they and the universities are funded by forward funding. They get to predict an estimate to the legislature how many they're going to have. Yes, sometimes they have to pay it back, but most of the time we don't. We are funded from what we did 3 years ago, and they never catch up. They don't allow us to tell them how much we expect to grow, because we would do well under that system, because we would not have to give back. We're really accurate on how many we estimate are coming.
Okay. With that, we'll be back in a moment. We'll have Peg Lowery of the foundation with us.
There's a rumor that small-town America has all but disappeared.
Northport is the last Mohican. This is the place. This is going to be the last undeveloped region. The city government itself is so pro-growth, and it's just like everything is in the right place at the right time for Northport. They're very open-minded, they're very honest, and they're very fair.
Disappeared? You've just seen evidence to the contrary. We call it Northport.
Welcome back to the final segment of Northport, A View from Here. In our final segment, we do have Peg Lowery from the foundation here, so welcome, Peg.
Thanks, June.
And thank you for coming on the program. And the Manatee Community College Foundation. What is it? What does it do? Tell me everything you know about it in the next 5-10 minutes.
Sure. Well, first of all, we're a private, charitable, not-for-profit corporation, and our job is quite simple. It's to raise awareness and to raise funds so that MCC can be the best public two-year institution in the state of Florida.
No, it's not.
Continue to be.
Continue to be. Okay. Okay. And how does it go about raising that money? Maybe who is the foundation? You know,
Sure. Well, we're governed by a volunteer board, of which Gene Matthews, we're proud to say, is a member of. We have 27 members of the board, and it represents our service district, which is both Sarasota and Manatee County. And basically what we do is we go out and tell the story of what MCC needs, why we need it, and then we ask people to help us make that possible.
what is the, when it comes to spending money, which is what you all do, what is it that you spend most of your money on, or the types of things that you spend money on?
Well, that's an easy one. We spend it on the college. And what we do is Dr. Pappas and the President's Executive Council of the institution will identify what the priorities for the institution are. And then once we know what those priorities are, our job is to go out and raise that money. For instance, recruitment and retention of students, always number one and number two priorities. And scholarships, you bet. Annually, we spend over $500,000 a year in awarding scholarships. And that actually comes down to more than 400 students are able to get their associate's degree as a result of monies that come in through the foundation. Where do those monies come from? From people that we have spoken with in the community to tell them that we have a need for scholarships. In addition, earlier in the program, you talked about the parent-to-teacher program and the nursing program. Two priorities that we received from the institution this past year. And what we have done is we have tried to make the public aware of these two needs, and we have been raising money from both individuals, foundations, and corporations for those two priorities. The other, you talked about the Center for Innovation and Technology, an incredible facility for this community to have. And the job that we have as a foundation is to make sure that it stays in state-of-the-art equipment. And so what we're doing right now is raising money from, again, individuals and corporations so that we can equip the facility and then also establish an equipment endowment so that we will always be state-of-the-art.
If I could give a dramatic example of why we need foundations, the state had a formula, and they gave us for that building $350,000 for equipment, because they had no idea that it was supposed to be a high-tech center. It really will take about $1.5 million to finally finish that building. So that's the kind of gap that the foundation allows us to become truly excellent, to do what the state at this time cannot afford to fund. So it's very crucial.
And, we've opened the building. Have we paid for it all, or is there still more to come?
There's some empty, there's some classrooms with furniture in it, but not the high-tech equipment.
Right. And so we're going room by room. And we invite your listeners to call us and let us know.
Okay. Well, why don't you, you kept using the word endowment. Explain what an endowment is. A lot of people know what it is, and some people don't, and how it works, and what the purpose of an endowed fund is.
An endowment essentially is a fund that exists in perpetuity. And you need a certain amount of money, depending upon what it is you're building the endowment for. Our foundation spending policy right now is 5%. So that means that we're going to spend 5% of that endowment and spin off money to the institution to purchase equipment. But the corpus or the principle always remains there and forever.
So only a certain percentage is used
That's
every
correct.
year, and that enables the fund to go on in perpetuity.
Right. And then what you want to do is, in addition, is continue to increase that corpus or principle so that you can keep pace with inflation as the years go by.
And anyone that gives money over always likes to feel that it's safe, secure. How do you ensure that this, what you just said, will happen?
Well, first of all, we have a signed agreement. That signed agreement is between the foundation and between the individual donor. In addition to that, we have a terrific oversight committee of our investments, and we review and monitor our funds on a quarterly basis. We make decisions if we need to in terms of changing the asset allocation mix, but we, in good faith, must abide by that signed document. And as a group of volunteers who govern the board, that is your responsibility to make sure that we are abiding by that document.
Okay, and what are some of the ways you raise funds? What are some of the activities that the college goes through?
Probably what people are most familiar with, the MCC Foundation for in terms of fundraising, are our special events. And coming up on April 12, you know I have to invite people to join us at MCC Venice for our very popular Evening Under the Stars program. That is a fundraiser, and that provides unrestricted.
Always a sellout.
Always a sellout, more than 2,000 people featuring the Venice Symphony. Just a beautiful, beautiful evening and a beautiful way to help the college. In addition to our special events, we also have an annual fund, and we actually invite people through direct mail and through personal solicitation to contribute to the institution annually. And people can designate where their gifts go, or they can give to the unrestricted fund. And then on top of that, we also do what we call corporate and foundation solicitations through grant writing.
Unrestricted funds, why is that an important fund to contribute to?
Oh, that's very important, and maybe the president wants to take this one.
In addition to the scholarships, there are always shortfalls in the academic program to keep equipment state-of-the-art. We have not only a nursing program, but dental hygiene, physical therapy, occupational therapy that had very expensive equipment needs. And so the budget from the state is never enough to keep that equipment really current. And so we really depend on the foundation to give us those enhancement funds for academic programs, right classroom equipment that is so important to keep up the quality of instruction at MCC.
So in other words, if they say, I want this to go into scholarship funds, it can never be used for these types of things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if it goes into the unrestricted, it can be used for anything, including scholarship.
Well, we would even welcome them saying, please use this for academic programs, and that giving us enough leeway to meet the needs that year, but yet telling us the donor really wants it to go to the classroom.
Are there any new initiatives planned for cutting back, for helping with the state cutbacks?
Well, the institutional priorities haven't changed, and so we're going to continue to raise money for those institutional priorities, but what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to raise more money in order to meet those priorities. So the changes I think that you're going to see is that we'll be much more visible as an organization. Our board members will be much more visible in talking with people in the community. And we really will be reaching out to people in ways we haven't done before to invite their participation so that MCC can achieve the vision that we all hopefully share in the community.
I personally feel that you all perform a very vital role in our community. You give kids, young people, young adults, and even senior adults opportunities that they wouldn't have otherwise. And I embrace you and welcome you to Northport, and I think I do that.
Keep on being our student, too.
Okay.
Keep growing.
And with that, I want to thank you all very much,
Thank you.
and we'll see you again next time.
Thanks.